Are you desiring more out of life? More love, more connection, more experience, just more aliveness? Well, that is your soul calling you, and together we are going to uncover those soul desires and help you bridge the gap between your physical life and your true soul self. Welcome to the Suddenly Spiritual Podcast. My name is Emilee. I'm an intuitive, a psychic medium, and someone who recently and very suddenly awakened to spirituality. On this podcast, we are going to talk all about connecting with your soul to live your fullest, most beautiful life. We're going to talk about spirituality from the perspective of the everyday person. It's my goal that you feel seen and supported on this journey of discovering your soul and awakening to the incredible world of spirit. Let's get started. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Suddenly Spiritual Podcast. It's Emilee, your host, and I'm so happy to have you here. Welcome to October. I love the fall, and it is finally starting to get cold here where I live. Not quite cold, but at least a little bit cooler where we're not sweating every day. And I just absolutely love this weather. I don't know about you, but for me, fall always feels like a new beginning. I love that feeling of change that fall really represents to me, because with the leaves changing, falling from the trees, the weather changing, that feeling of change, it's just so exciting to me. It feels like movement. It just feels so new. And when I felt into the energy of October and what we can expect to be experiencing and feeling over the next 30 days, that sense of change was there, but the change really felt internal. And so I'm going to talk to you about the messages that came through when I connected in with spirit, trying to feel into the energy of October. Before I get into these messages, I just want to say that as I'm connecting in with spirit, getting this energy for the following month, getting some guidance for the following month, it's never my intention to provide guidance for the entire population of the world. However, I do believe that if you're here listening to this podcast, then these messages are relevant to you. I ask spirit for some guidance for the collective amount of people who are going to be tuning into the podcast, who are looking to me for a little bit of guidance as far as where they're going to be moving forward spiritually, personally in the next 30 days. So the messages that come through are from that collective lens, and hopefully some of the messages that come through give you some new perspective, some things to think about, and some things to carry with you as this month moves forward. Now, I have three sort of main messages that came through from spirit, three areas of focus that came through as what we can expect for the month of October. They're all kind of related. They're all kind of separate, but I'll go through everything that came through to me, a lot of visuals and just a lot of information about the energy we can expect to receive. And then that vision ended with a beautiful message about our own personal growth that I'm going to share with you, and some really pretty visualizations that I hope will resonate with you and where you are at in your life, in your journey. Now, if you are interested in having a more personal reading of where you are in your life, what you can expect as you move forward, be sure to check out the show links, because I do have some offerings for doing readings, personalized readings for people. I absolutely love doing that. And in all my readings, I do that reading remotely. So not on Zoom, not on video. We don't schedule any appointments. I connect in with your energy, connect in with spirit, and I get messages from spirit that I channel through about how you can move forward in the best way in your future right now. I'm able to receive some information about your true self. I feel like I really get to see your soul in all of its shining light, and it is my joy that I get to reflect that shining light back to you and deliver you some messages from Spirit about how to move forward in the best way possible, in the way that will lead you closer to your incredible soul self. My readings are delivered via audio, so you get your own little personal podcast that you can listen to anytime that you want. You can pause, you can replay, you can rewind if you need to listen to something more than once, but you get to listen to it on your terms and as often as you need to really feel like that message has made sense to you and settles in with you. So if you are interested in that, be sure to check out the show notes, and I'd love to give you a personal reading for what energies are existing in your life right now, what you can expect moving forward, and what guidance Spirit has just for you on this path of self-discovery, of spiritual discovery, and of soul connection. I'd love to be that in-between person for you. It's absolutely my honor and one of my greatest joys to get to be a messenger of Spirit in that way. So with that, let's go ahead and move into these collective messages for October. So when I got into my meditation, I got quiet, started listening and feeling into this energy of the coming month, the very first thing I heard was look within. It was clear as day. And so this month of October, I feel like that's our overarching theme. Our overarching theme is look within. It is about doing some reflection and being willing to connect internally. That is going to come through for the whole month for everything that I'm talking about. Now, next, what I saw was it was this message about completion. And how I saw it was I saw the month of October like a calendar, and a circle, a green vine with leaves in a circle started being created around it. It was spinning, it was swirling around the picture of this calendar month, and it really represented a completion, something coming to completion. So it's interesting that this came through because last month when I felt into the energy of September, some of the things that came through was like, okay, we're still chugging along. We're still moving forward. We're in the middle of something, and it feels kind of like a drudgery a little bit to continue moving forward on whatever like project or goal or sort of development that was happening in September. We were getting kind of bored. We were in the middle of something, and Spirit was encouraging us just move forward. If you felt that this past month, if you feel that now that you're like in the middle of something and you're so ready for the end, I really had this message that in October, we're reaching the end of something, a circle, a completion, something has been completed or will be completed this month. It was so interesting because as I watched this circle, it started swirling and spinning around and turned into a funnel, like a tornado. It's like a funnel, and the top of the tornado is like the whole world. It's like a big picture. So there was this connection between this big picture at the top and then down at the bottom of the funnel with the small little things down at the bottom. And Spirit was showing me this connection between the big picture and the little small things that we do, our everyday life actions. And there was this message that big change is created through small intentional actions. And I could see energy in this funnel, in this tornado. It was going down from the big collective picture all the way down to the individual actions, and then energy was also going back up from the individual actions and playing up into this big picture. And it was this sense of connection, like these little actions matter for the big things that we want. Well, at the same time, this big thing that we're working toward, or maybe even I had also a feeling that this big thing was like a big community. And then at the bottom was the individual people. And it was this sense of the big community affects the individual, and the individual affects the big community. And there was this connection and this recognition of being an individual, but also being part of something bigger. And that was shown right alongside the message of the small actions we do matter to something bigger. And it was really just this message and sense of connection, the connection between the small things and the big things. And with that, here's what I wrote in my notes when I had that part of the vision. I wrote, there's less isolation and singularity this month, and instead there's a realization of connectedness. And that realization of being connected to something bigger, it doesn't necessarily mean that we won't have any loneliness this month or any of those internal feelings of being alone. I think some of us might experience that this month, but alongside it is also a realization of the connection we have as part of a whole, as part of the whole community. And it was, almost like, I want to say a sense of belonging, but alongside it, there was still sort of this feeling of loneliness that I think some of us might experience this month, maybe sporadically throughout the month. But Spirit is telling us with that, we may experience some internal loneliness, but there is also going to be feelings of connection and being part of something bigger than yourself. And so if you do encounter some of those feelings of loneliness this month, I want you to try and lean on the realization that even though you may feel alone at some points in this month, you are also deeply connected to the entire community, to the earth, to the universe, and that you are an integral part, right? With this vision of the funnel, each little action, each individual person is so important to the whole, to the big community at the top. So don't lose sight of the fact that even though you may physically be alone, you're also energetically part of this big, massive community, part of this whole, part of this big, important thing. And that connection is always there no matter what. And so Spirit was just pointing out we're always part of the whole. And there is an effect both ways. You can affect the whole. Your energy goes up and you can affect this big whole community, this big whole thing. And there's also the recognition that the community, the whole, this big entity does affect the individuals. It was just this sense of being part of something and recognizing kind of like the responsibility that comes with that, because our actions affect each other. Our actions affect the whole. The actions of the whole affect the individual. I hope I've communicated that in a way that makes sense, that part of the vision. That was the first message that came through when I connected in, the first vision, the first sort of component. The next thing that came through for this month was this very strong sense of home. The word home was so strong, and it came through with the knowledge that home is changing. Home is going to be changing for us this month. It might be so literal, like you're relocating or you're moving or you're going on vacation or you're spending time away from the home, but I also sensed maybe that's part of it, but it's deeper than that. And it's more about where you feel at home, what home represents to you, whether home is important or not important to your life. All of these things are going to be in reflection this month and really considering what home means to you. And I felt a separation happening between considering our physical house our home and defining home as a feeling that we have inside. It's like the feeling of home becomes separate from our physical house. And we're starting to have this creation of home within. The feeling of home is being created within us, and it's not tied to a physical location. It's like you can feel at home no matter where you are physically. And maybe it's coming to me now that this may be in relation to feeling separate from your home. Maybe you are far away from family, far away from things that are in your comfort zone. You're far away from that physical place that feels safe. And we're going to be led this month to really consider, well, what does home mean? What is my home? And we're going to be guided toward creating home within, defining what the feeling of home is for us, but also coming home to ourselves, separating home from something physical to ourselves, to our body, feeling at home in who we are. Also, it's like you can feel at home no matter where you're located. The feeling of home is not tied to one place, but it is within you and within yourself. I did really feel like there was a family element to this. There's an element of relationships, and it came through that if you have been defining home as someone else, like saying your partner feels like home, and allowing someone else to be your definition of home, to be your safe place, Spirit's encouraging you to take that power back and create home within yourself. And when I say take your power back, it's not that this person who feels like home has somehow taken your power away from you or is taking advantage of you or something like that. I'm not saying that's a negative relationship. Feeling at home with someone is not a negative thing. What I'm saying is that if you can only feel at home and at peace when you are with someone else, you are sort of giving your power to them, because that means when they are away from you, then you feel unsettled, you feel ungrounded, you don't feel at home unless you're with this other person. And Spirit is guiding you to start redefining what home means to you and taking that sense of home and creating it within yourself, so that regardless of where you are, you can feel rooted and grounded and safe and at home. And that was really strong, something that came through as I felt into this energy of the month. And it goes along with that initial sense I got of looking within. And part of that looking within this month is going to be defining what home means to us and creating those feelings of home within us. And now let's move into the last aspect of this message for October. So the very last vision that came to me when I was feeling into the energy of October was I saw a flower blooming. And this flower was bright and beautiful. It was purple. It was just this really big, beautiful flower blooming. But the background of the vision was all gray and black and dark. But here was this beautiful, bright flower. And I know that there are some flowers that bloom in fall, but this was like a summer flower. And the words that came through to me were late bloomer. And it was sort of this recognition of our timeline not always being exactly what we expect or exactly what we want. And when I leaned more into that vision, tried to gather some more information from Spirit about what they were showing me and the message that they were conveying to me, there were sort of two parts of it. One part of this vision was to do with the brightness of this flower in contrast to the really kind of dark, dreary background. And the message that came through was that even in the coldness and stillness, there's still beauty. And even in this season of letting go, this season of fall where we're really encouraged to let go, there is still beauty and there are still bright moments. And it was this encouragement to look for the bright moments, look for the contrast, look for the light. And like I mentioned in the first part of this reading, I again got a feeling that for some people this month might be a little bit emotionally heavy. There might be some feelings of loneliness that come up, some sort of heavy emotions that come up for you this month. But Spirit is encouraging you and reminding you that there will also be bright patches. There will also be color, and there will also be beauty, even among the heaviness, even among the darkness, even when the word that keeps coming to me is depression. Even when we feel that sadness and depression, there's still bright spots. There's still these bright, beautiful moments that shine through in the darkness. And Spirit is encouraging us to look for those bright moments. And along with that, there was also this realization that somehow when things are dark, when things are heavy, when things are difficult, and then we have that bright moment, it's almost like the brightness and beauty is magnified, like it is intensified, it's enhanced, it's even brighter than if that moment had happened when everything was happy. It's like this moment is so much more meaningful because it has come at a time when other things feel dark, when it's surrounded by darkness. And so it's just this recognition that when we're feeling heavy and we're brought these beautiful moments, when we look for the light and we find the light, we can appreciate it on a level that we aren't always able to, because when life is always high up and happy and joyful and bright, all the bright moments, they kind of just blend in together. But Spirit is saying there's beauty in this contrast, and there's a gift in this contrast, because even though we may be feeling heavy, which is a difficult thing to go through, we're also able to appreciate the brightness and the beauty on a whole new level, with a whole new awareness and gratitude than we have been able to do in the past. The other aspect of this vision has to do with that phrase that came through, late bloomer. And this message came through. I'm going to read to you what I wrote down. It says, the single flower that blooms late in the season is more adored than the flowers that bloom all at the same time. The flowers that bloom all together, they can't stand out. The solitary bloom, that stands out. It's noticed, it's seen and loved and appreciated. And that is a different path than the path of the flowers that all bloom together. And Spirit was showing me that there is value in being a late bloomer. There's nothing wrong with your timeline. If you feel like you are a late bloomer, there is still value and magic in that. You are not behind. You just weren't meant to bloom any sooner. Everything in your life, the timeline, is exactly as it is supposed to be. And there is nothing wrong when things take a little bit longer, because even when things are taking longer than you anticipate, the timeline is perfect. That flower that blooms late gets so much more notice and adoration, and it's valued and appreciated at a level that all those flowers that bloomed at the same time, like, they couldn't be appreciated in that way, because it's just like, oh, it's just another flower, oh, it's just, part of this group. But here with this individual flower, it was a sense of individuality and of being appreciated and seen as an individual. I guess now that I'm saying it, that also ties back to that first vision where we talked about being part of a whole, and just that recognition of individualism and also the connection to community and to a big picture. I guess that's really kind of coming back in this vision of the solitary flower. And the message that Spirit really wants me to deliver here at the end, I'm getting to the end of this message, is that there is no better timing for your life. If you feel like there's an area where you are this late bloomer, it is happening exactly as it is meant to be. Everything is exactly how it should be, and everything is exactly when it should be. There's no better path for you. The one that you are on is what you are meant for. And even if you feel like you're this late bloomer, you feel like you're behind or other people are ahead of you, it's not a problem. Your timeline is not a problem. And you don't need to put those meanings behind when you bloom. There is no meaning behind it. There's no negativity behind it. There's no reason to think that you are behind, because your journey is your own individual journey. It is as unique as you are, as unique as your thumbprint. And it is the path that you are meant to follow. And so even if you feel like that late bloomer, don't get caught into this sense of lack, like you've missed out. And like, if only I had done this sooner, things would be better. There'd be more available to me. If only I had done this sooner. Don't get into that thought, because even the flower that blooms the very last one of the season, that flower is seen for all of its beauty, and it gets to be seen as an individual, as the beautiful solitary being that it is. It doesn't get lost in the crowd. There's so much value in taking your time to develop and grow and become who you're meant to be and to shine. And just know that when it is time for you to reach that completion, when it is time for you to bloom, like, you're going to be radiant. There's all of this beautiful bright light that is coming from you, and it will happen at the exact right time for you and for your journey in this lifetime. So my friend, those are the visions, the messages that came through for me as I tapped into the feelings and energy of October. I hope that this has resonated with you. I hope that maybe some of it, hopefully all of it, I don't know. I hope that it really resonates with you and that it makes sense to you. And if there are parts of this that really stick out to you and really feel true to you, I want you to just keep that in the back of your mind as you move through the month. And if you run into some challenges in your relationship with your home and your feelings of home, or if you run into some challenges with feeling low or feeling heavy emotionally, I want you to think back to these messages. I want you to think back to what Spirit is calling us to do in these aspects of our lives, and you can pull from this reading, pull from this guidance when you need it, but just keep it in the back of your mind. Don't try and force these messages to fit into your experience of the next 30 days. Whatever fits for you is what is meant to fit for you. And hopefully this will help you move forward and grow through all of the experiences that you'll be presented over the next 30 days. I really hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you like these energy readings, please let me know. You can contact me over on Instagram. I'm at Suddenly Spiritual, and I would absolutely love to chat with you there. Okay, I am sending you so much love. I hope you have an amazing month, and I'll talk with you soon. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Suddenly Spiritual podcast. I'm so grateful that I get to be part of your journey of spiritual expansion. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you would leave a review for me on Apple Podcasts. It's a quick, free, easy way for you to support this podcast, and it helps me reach more people who are looking for support on their spiritual journey. You can find a link to leave a review in the show notes. Thank you so much, and I'll chat with you soon.